commentators here have said that the war is turning into a kind of stalemate. They don't seem to...
No, I think on the contrary, as General Westmoreland has pointed out in recent weeks in Saigon, the military operations, the large unit military operations, continue to show very substantial progress.
One of the lessons I learned early on, never say never. Never, never, never. Never say never. And secondly, never answer the question that is asked of you. Answer the question that you wish had been asked of you. And quite frankly, I follow that rule. It's a very good rule.
When you talk about the responsibility for something like the Vietnam War, whose responsibility is it?
It's the president's responsibility. I don't want to fail to recognize the tremendous contribution that I think Johnson made to the country. I don't want to put the responsibility for Vietnam on his shoulders alone. But I am inclined to believe that Kennedy had lived. He would have made a difference. I don't think we would have had 500,000 men there. Two very telling photographs. One of them has Johnson like this. You can just see him thinking, my God, I'm in a hell of a mess. And this guy is trying to tell me to do something that I know is wrong and I'm not going to do. But how the hell am I going to get out of this? The other photograph, you can just see me saying, Jesus Christ, I love this man, I respect him, but he's totally wrong. What am I going to do? Johnson couldn't persuade me, and I couldn't persuade him. I had this enormous respect and affection, loyalty to both Kennedy and Johnson. But at the end, Johnson and I found ourselves poles apart. And I said to a very close and dear friend of mine, Kay Graham, the former publisher of the Washington Post, even to this day, Kay, I don't know whether I quit or was fired. She said, you're out of your mind. Of course you were fired. November 1, 1967, I presented a memo to Johnson that said, the course we're on is totally wrong. We've got to change it. Cut back what we're doing in Vietnam. We got to reduce the casualties and so on. It was an extraordinarily controversial memo, and I took it to him. I delivered it myself. Mr. President, nobody has seen this. Not Dean Rusk, not the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, nobody. I know that it may contain recommendations and statements that you do not agree with and do not support. I've never heard from him. Something had to give. There was a rumor that I was facing a mental breakdown. I was under such pressure and stress. I don't think that was the case at all. But it was a really traumatic departure. That's the way it ended. Except for one thing. He awarded me the Medal of Freedom in a very beautiful ceremony at the White House. And he was very, very warm in his comments. And I became so emotional I could not respond.
Mr. President, I cannot find words to express what lies in my heart today. And I think I'd better respond on another occasion.
And had I responded, I would have said, I know what many of you are thinking. You are thinking this man is duplicitous. You're thinking that he has held things close to his chest. You're thinking that he did not respond fully to the desires and wishes of the American people. And I want to tell you, you're wrong. Of course he had personal idiosyncrasies. No question about that. He didn't accept all the advice he was given. On several occasions, his associates advised him to be more forthcoming. He wasn't. People did not understand at that time there were recommendations and pressures that would carry the risk of war with China and carry the risk of nuclear war, and he was determined to prevent it. I'm arguing that he had a reason in his mind for doing what he did. And of course, shortly after I left, Johnson concluded that he couldn't continue.
And at this point, how many Americans had been killed in Vietnam?
About 25,000, less than half of the number ultimately killed, 58,000. Historians don't really like to deal with counterfactuals, with what might have been. They want to talk about history. How the hell do you know, McNamara, what might have been? Who knows? Well, I know certain things. What I'm doing is thinking it through with hindsight. But you don't have hindsight available at the time. I'm very proud of my accomplishments. And I'm very sorry that in the process of accomplishing things, I've made errors.